Alright guys, I guess today's little topic here will be air rides for the M109R, and this cylinder is also used for the Victory Cross Country. So here we go. I got one of my pre-made kits set up here already. This is pretty much how it's going to look. Get your cylinder, 5 feet of DOT airline, 1/4 inch, 2 billet momentary switches, and your full compressor with your dump valve. Fully adjustable for the speed going down on the cylinder, and also you can adjust the rebound on the shock for firm or stiffness of the shock on the rebound up and down. So I guess I'm going to go ahead and make one here and show you guys what's all involved. When I do send my kits out, I send them out fully assembled with plenty of wire, and if I do have them in stock, I also give the remote control up and down. So here we go. Also, I give a fuse and directions on how to install, which is pretty much simple. It's pull your original shock out from the bike, put the next one in, 2 bolts to screw it in. Got this mount here to mount the compressor onto the frame, 2 bolts. Very, very simple kit. So let's go ahead and build one. So I have one of my cylinders here. I get these made for me by a company. Can't say who it is, but have them made. They come with 2 holes already tapped and drilled. Air in. This end pushes the shaft out. With this end here, I tap this one and seal it off to put in the adjustable valve on this end. This end allows the air to come out to allow the shock to go back in, which allows your bike to go down. Fully adjustable on how fast or slow you want it to go, or the rebound, which is here. So go ahead and get started. I have all my parts here made for me from a guy up in Maine. I'm down in Pennsylvania. Billet aluminum. Have the other end made out of stainless. That way it doesn't rust. I use the same cylinder for my Victory Cross Country baggers. I use a different mount I have machined. As you can see, it's a little longer, and also it's turned 90 degrees. Then instead of using this end, which is for the M109R, this is the end which we put on this end. I also cut this down a little shorter to allow us to fit nice and flush. So yes, this kit, if you do have an M109R and you have my kit and you want to switch over, say you buy a Victory, you get rid of the M109R, you can take this kit out of your Suzuki, just modify this tip, get one of my ends, well, both of these, bolt them on, and right there you go, it's ready for the Victory. Very simple mod. But once you modify that for the Victory, there's no going back to the Suzuki. Because once you modify this and cut this shorter, there's not enough thread there to use it. I use high strength Loctite on all my bolts. That way I know they're not going to come off. That end is very tight and pretty much be a pain in the ass to get back off again. On the other end, same thing. I use plenty of Loctite. That way I know it's not going to go anywhere. Now if you do want to modify this for the Victory, these ends will come off. Just need some elbow grease. I've been making these kits now, I'd say probably 3 or 4 years. I don't make them on a regular basis. I pretty much make them when I have time or I'm feeling bored. So I don't always have them on hand, but if I really want to make a whole bunch of them, I could. But it's a hobby and I do sell them for a lot less than other manufacturers. I do have plenty out there. I've shipped these all over the world. I've shipped 2 kits to South Africa. I've shipped 1 to Egypt. I did Sweden, Germany, Australia. Pretty much I'll ship anywhere. As long as you're willing to pay the shipping, I'll ship out of the US. Typically I try to stay around $6.75 in the US shipped. If someone's buying more than 2 at a time, I do give a discount. My prices are based on what it costs my machinist to charge me for the ends. So typically, I like to stay around $6.75, like I said, shipped in the US. If my guys that make my parts for me, if their prices go up a little bit, I don't typically eat that cost. I pass the cost on to the person buying. But I try to stay under 700 mark, which is a pretty good price. I remember when I originally bought my Air Ride kit maybe about 7 years ago, I paid close to $1,000. And that kit ended up going back to the manufacturer because there was a very big flaw in them. So I did go with the Tricky Air Ride. And I decided instead of spending another $900 on Tricky, which I did, I decided to make my own. I feel it's better quality and I can charge a lot less money. I have very little overhead. Like I said, I don't keep them in stock all the time. When I get bored, I do make them. Typically, I make more during the winter time because I'm not riding. And currently, I do have this kit on my M109R currently, which I'll show you later in the video. But I also use all good high quality fittings for my Air Ride kits. Everything is watertight, no leaks. Typically many people have issues with their Air Rides leaking air. I would say make sure that when you do install it, you have a nice and straight cut on your airline. You don't want to have any bad cuts on your airline because that could lead to leaking. Also, typically a lot of people, when they can't find the leak and they think, well, all my fittings are good, my compressor's good, I don't know what's wrong. Inside these cylinders are O-rings. And sometimes they go bad, they get dry. If you end up getting debris inside the cylinder, the walls get scraped, or it might catch on that O-ring. They do go bad. It's not typical, but it is possible. Any machine shop can open this cylinder up for you and replace that O-ring for you. It's not a special O-ring. All they do is they open it up, measure the opening where the O-ring goes, and those O-rings pretty much will cost you pennies. They're not very expensive. So typically if you think you have a bad kit or you can't find your leak or anything, it could be the fact that it's inside the cylinder and not one of your fittings. I found that out the hard way. I figured when I did have my Tricky Air Ride, I couldn't figure out why it was leaking or losing air. And during my time trying to figure out how to build my own air rides, we opened it up and found that it had a leaking O-ring. Replace that, like I said, a couple cents, problem solved. The fittings that I use are low profile fittings. That way they fit snugly in between the frame of the bike. Gives you plenty of clearance. Also, I decided to put this one on the end instead of here because of the clearance issue within the frame rails. I think this works a lot nicer too. Gives you more adjustability instead of having that big brass kind of fitting there. Many people said that they like this feature better. Also, I even put a screen on there so it doesn't allow for debris to be sucked back into the cylinder and cause damage to the O-ring. Alright, here we go. So that's pretty much the cylinder. That's all there is to it. I get my cylinders made for me. I get my end mount machined from a gentleman up in Maine. I have these ends machined for me local by one of my buddies out of stainless. That way for no rusting. That's pretty much your cylinder. That's ready to go, ready to be installed. Take 2 bolts out, remove your old shock, put this in place, put your bolts back into the frame rails. That's it. This end will face towards the front of the bike. This end faces the rear. This section here is fully adjustable for your rebound up and down, how the bounce during riding. If this feels it's too stiff, you can adjust this little screw here to allow the air to flow in and out more. If you think it's too bouncy, you can tighten that screw up to allow the air to not travel in and out of the cylinder as quickly. That's how you adjust your rebound. Like I said, this is many people said they like this style a lot better, so I continue to go with that style. Alright, on the air compressor. This is a Bi-Air 90AC compressor. Works very good, right out the box. These might run you about maybe, I get them for a lot cheaper, I buy them in bulk, but you can find them for under $100. A lot of people that have other air rides say a lot of times their compressors go bad, so instead of paying hundreds of dollars, say from the person that made the last one, which could be Tricky, could be Arnott, or whoever, Platinum Air, it's very easy just to go out and buy one of these and put on your own fittings, and it's just as reliable as the high-end brands. My compressor mounts, they mount to the frame. I get these cut from a friend of mine. He also cuts these in bulk for me. Very simple. This mounts onto the air compressor. Then these 2 bolts will mount to the frame into the bike. Also, when you mount these to the frame of the bike, you can also use the bolts here, as one of your grounds. So you can run your ground cable right to one of the bolts, and your air compressor is grounded. Also, if somebody does have an air ride and they their compressor goes bad, I will sell just a compressor. Not sure what I would charge anymore. I haven't sold one just compressor lately, but I typically do. I will sell just a cylinder, or I will sell just the compressor if somebody needs part of a system. Another thing is, a lot of people, a lot of companies, they chrome plate their air ride cylinders and other parts, and that's a big upcharge. I don't think no one's going to see your chromed out cylinder unless you crash your bike and dump it upside down. That's the only way someone's really going to see, oh, you got a chrome cylinder. But I think the charge for chroming the cylinder isn't worth the money. You can save that money and buy other things. So that's the mount for the compressor. This mounts to the frame. That's all there is to that part. Alright. As for the fittings that I use, all brass fittings, 1/4 inch industrial. A lot better than some of the other people that manufacture air rides. Got your positive and negative cable. Also on your release valve, notice both wires are the same color. You can put them positive, negative, either way, doesn't matter. These are set to always be closed. Once you power one of the cables, it opens the cylinder and allows you to release the air out of the cylinder, lowering the bike. If you want to adjust how fast the bike lowers, this is the fitting. You just adjust it and lock it down with the bolt. Got some thread sealing here, that way we don't get any air leaks. Check valve here. This check valve doesn't allow for air to go back into the compressor, which will cause damage to the compressor. So always keep these on as an extra precaution. There are some manufacturers that don't give these, and as you're riding and the bike's going up and down, it will force that air back into the air compressor, which can damage it. And that's pretty much it for my compressor with the dump valve. Very small package, fully adjustable. The airline will exit this end. It will be routed through the frame down to this cylinder. I do supply plenty of line. I give 5 feet. Probably need about 3.5. So when you do cut that airline, make sure that you cut it nice and straight at a 90-degree angle. That way when you do insert that line into the fittings, it'll be a nice flush connection. But that's pretty much it. That's your compressor and release valve and your air cylinder. I do supply 5 feet of airline, which is plenty. If you do end up breaking an airline or something, you can also get this online. It's very cheap. Or if you know a semi-truck repair shop, they do carry that. It's DOT rated airline. which is very strong. I provide 2 flush mount momentary buttons. As you wire it up, one will be to give power to the compressor to air up the cylinder. The other one, when you compress it, it will activate this valve to release the air, and that's how it goes down. I also do provide plenty of positive and negative cable, so you will have plenty. I also give all the fittings, heat shrink wrap, zip ties, and like I said, if I do have the remote in stock, I will throw remotes in. Currently, I only have one in stock. So the gentleman that purchased both these kits, they're going out to New Jersey. So I do have a list of people that are in line. As I go down the list, you know, I have time to make one. I'll say, hey, you're next on my list. Do you want it? I give the price. I ship out the next day. Typically get them in 2 to 3 days in the U.S. When I ship out outside the U.S., it all depends on customs. I don't have any control on how fast they do their paperwork or inspect their shipments. That's not me. That's pretty much it. That's the Air Ride kit. So let me go ahead and show you how mine operates. Pretty simple. This is my bike here. Plenty of mods in this bike. Tons of stuff. So let me open the door here. So as for my kit, I have my switch. I have a toggle switch on mine, but it's located right here. As you activate it, bike does go up, but if you do have my remote control kit, you can bypass this switch and just use the remote control. I like to put the remote control and the switches on, because if you're out and you lose your remote control, your keys, you're kind of screwed. So as a backup, I like to have a second source to activate the Air Ride. The switches that I give are chrome billet switches. So if you want to mount them, you know, up here, they'll match the bike perfectly. They are nice and chrome. Or if you want to put both switches underneath, that's fine. I've also seen people mount the switches up on the tank cover, up, down, or you can also hide them on the back side, up and down, over here. It's pretty much preference, doesn't matter. You just run all your cables, same way that you'll see in my directions or instructions for installing the system. Very simple. I typically, when I install a kit, I can install one in probably about maybe under an hour. It's very simple. You get to the 2 bolts, which are underneath, put the bike up on a jack stand, and you're able to access the bolts pretty easy. I install them by myself. I use a regular Harbor Freight yellow jack over there, but that's pretty much it. When you do install these, there are bolts up under the fender that you need to grind down flush. That way when you do ride, if you were to bottom out, you don't gouge your tires. This system you can ride with the whole way down. Inside the cylinder is a rubber bumper. That way if you do blow an airline while you're riding, you can still ride. You're not hitting metal on metal. You still ride. You're not going to damage anything. When the bike is lowered the whole way down, the tire will not sit, or the fender won't sit on the tire. You still have plenty of clearance to be able to ride this bike, and you won't be stuck anywhere. But this is pretty much it. It's a very simple install, And like I said, I've been making these for a couple years. No complaints. I have plenty of people online that will verify that the product that I make is very good and reliable. And some of them even said they like mine better than others. So I use the switch to raise it up, and on my remote control here, I can stop it, drop it down to your desired height, and you can raise it up with the remote control. So it works pretty good. Haven't had any issues, no returns. Like I said, everyone's happy with the product. When I do get time, I make them. I don't always have them in stock, but if you would like to be on the list, it's going to get pretty long, so I don't know how long I'll make them for. It's just a side hobby. I don't make much money from them. I just do it as a alternate for people to save money. But like I said, when I got time, that's what I do. Like I said, not much to the kit. That's pretty much it. I've made one here in under 20 minutes. I mean, 20 minutes to manufacture one, get all my parts made for me. I assemble them, ship them out quick. In the US, I do give tracking number. If you're local, I will install them for you. Come down to my house. I'll install them for a small fee. Not an issue. That's pretty much it.